That's actually brings up another point that coming down the line, voice chat in Heroes of the Storm. That is something that I'm actually looking forward to, despite like there are a lot of there's a lot of trepidation about voice chat coming to Heroes of the Storm, but for situations like what you were describing just there, that kind of thing where if you have the option to be able to communicate with voice with your allies that you're not usually talking with, just a few words can go a long way.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see where that goes, and we can get into my opinions about that one later. As we are into the draft, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be EKevin Looking for Girlfriend on the left, and NA LUL is going to be on the right. We are on Cursed Hollow. NA LUL banned Warhead, and EKevin banned Raxus. And we've got an instant Valeera ban, because stealth characters are still annoying.
She's really strong. Turns out if you have a couple seconds silence, that can really screw up quite a few heroes.
I was hearing from some very deeply rooted assassin players. One of them, I heard via the grapevine that Equinox is in love with Valeera again because you can do mean things to people. I just don't trust that. I don't trust that because I know he's in love with Valeera.
Well, the thing is,
like Valeera players and Zeratul players, like they've just got this true deep feelings. Like, now we can pick it here.
Well, the thing is, Valeera now has that gap close on all of her abilities.
Yes.
Before, she had the only way she could gap close was taking a talent at level 13, and it was only with her ambush, her Q while she was stealth. Now she has a gap close on all of her abilities. It's allowing so much more versatility. She can stun from range. She can stun and gap close. She can do more damage from gap close, or she can silence and gap close. And the silence is really what's bringing up her strength a hell of a lot, because if a lot of these heroes are very reliant on their abilities, and a lot of their mobility is tied into some of their abilities, and if you just silence them, you can lock them down really easy, and it's making people just sitting ducks. So just having that little bit of a change has brought up Valeera's strength quite a bit. Sure, you can still kind of see her when she's stealth, but that's a lot of strength in her kit now.
All right, we've got Dahaka, Lucio pickups, good mobility, a little bit of global, so EKevin gaining some advantages there. ETC being the only pickup so far for NA LUL, and they'll be picking up 2 more right about meow. Possible global pickups. They didn't run ETC last time. I don't really think that ETC stage dive is as useful as it used to be when it comes to like sending him as making him a global threat.
It's kind of like a very late contingency plan for when it comes to globals. They do pick up the file size, so they're not necessarily needing that. So we could very well see this ETC go for the mosh pit, because they have the file state to deal with that global pressure. But yeah, the stage dive, yes, it can be very impactful when it actually lands, but you're taking away one of the highest impact heroics in the mosh pit because you want to try and match that global pressure. So it's a bit of an odd situation when you want to take the stage dive to try and match the Dahaka, but as I mentioned, mosh pit, it's pretty damn good.
All right. Alexstrasza ban, Tassadar ban, taking away some of those support-ish heroes. I haven't seen a lot of Alexstrasza play. I'm hoping once HGC rolls around, we get a better sense of what teams can do with her.
I'm pretty sure she was used a couple times during the Gold Club World Championship.
No. She's definitely been played. I haven't seen it.
A lot of the time when I saw her was used on Infernal Shrines, because when she goes into Dragon form, she has a lot of zone control around the shrines and like dealing with the Guardians very easily. So that's a very clear point of power for Alexstrasza. But on this map, I'm not entirely sold on it, but we'll have to see if we do end up seeing it down the line. But it's a very interesting ban. Could just be a more targeted towards a specific person, but we'll have to just wait and see, as we are getting towards the back end of the draft. The Cassian and the Arthur's on the side for EKevin's team, and the NA LUL is finalized by the Malthael and the Rhaegar. Interesting.
Yeah, they get health percentage to deal with the double tank composition. Fairly good option. Until we get, much later in the game where Arthas becomes difficult. Li Ming, Cassia are going to be the damage dealers. So EKevin looking for a solid defensive team composition. It gives them a lot of options. Whereas on the other side, NA LUL balanced, but with a couple more playmaking abilities. They've got the Gust. They've got a likely Mosh Pit. A couple more options for them to be able to really engage and pick up fights. Whereas on the other side, EKevin is going to be looking for the right opportunity instead of forcing it.
Yeah, it feels like that NA LUL composition, it has these massive upswings. It's like those spikes in power that they can really utilize. If they can actually utilize well, they can devastate team fights. But the team from EKevin, on EKevin's team, it's a little bit more of a consistent style of composition that you're not necessarily tied into your heroics to be making these plays. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they play that, because both teams have a global, so it's not going to be that kind of imbalance as we get towards the first couple of tributes. We'll just have to wait and see how it goes.
All right, well, we are into our second round here at the HeroesHype Holiday Series. I'm Source, joining me is GL Phoenix. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys hit up that Matcherino code. Code is HHH1. Also check out some of the cool gear they've got discounted for you guys. Keyboards and headsets. Get them while they last. And we'll be getting into our game between EKevin, looking for girlfriend, as always, my dear friend, and it's going to be NA LUL over on the right side. Both teams will now make their way out on to the field, and we will see which one of these teams will advance, because this is a best-of-1 tournament, 1 loss, and you're out. NA LUL coming off a hot win. EKevin, they got a bye, so they're going to see how they warm up.
We're just getting the usual slap and tickle at the very start of the game, just trying to assert your dominance over the lane. Just get that first little bit of extra push and then move on move elsewhere to try and start pushing and trying to get some of those early experience advantages. But one thing to note, on the far side, actually pick up the wingman. So looking to be driving some of those games. We were talking about it in the previous game where the way that they've changed the neutral camps, their strength has actually gone up a fair amount, so some of those bribe style of talents could very well go up in power because of that.
Yep, and you can see the refinement and speed, and what I'm assuming is some solid, whether or not it's the shot calling out of Itobi and EKevin, they're definitely adding to that, because that was a swift series of plays. They sent the team top because of the changes to the giant camp, so they've already got EKevin dealing with that. They managed to take out 1 turret and are close to finishing off this initial wall up in the top lane. Meanwhile, NA LUL, they put half damage on a turret. They're now going over to their night camp. It just seems like a cleaner and more concise plan from EKevin, and NA LUL are playing a little bit of catch up because they seem slightly behind the play.
Yeah, they are a little bit behind in experience, but not too much to be all that worried about, as on the bottom side, droplets on the Dahaka taking a bit of damage, but meanwhile in the mid lane, Lucio taking a lot of damage as well, so but they're not losing out in anything. But as you mentioned, it feels like a little bit more of a refinement of these early strategies coming out from EKevin's lineup. But a nice early pickup of that hard camp is going to be a bit of a problem that EKevin is going to have to deal with, as we see just how tough it is to burst through those night camps, especially with that spell armor. As we do have a nice power slide going in onto EKevin himself, as he's actually taking a lot of damage, but a nice flank coming in from droplets on that Dahaka does secure that first kill, and a nice little pickup there coming out for EKevin.
Yeah, so they'll end up getting a kill in transition from the wall. Experience is basically even, so their advantage has kind of been quelled. And there's still a bit of pressure here up in the top. Malthael should be fine up against the Arthas. This does mean, however, due to that kill and inability to get people there, they're going to go in for this kill here. Zergling should go down fairly quickly. They'll put some pressure. Oh, he sneaks away. Nope. will go down, but they will be taking the first tribute on the side of EKevin. The other camp has been picked up for the side. The siege camp has been picked up for the side of the NA LUL, so they'll finally get that one. We'll see whether or not they can make a play off of that, because they do seem to have a good sense of when and how to push. They're actually sneaking in for the enemy night camp.
Yeah, they realized that a lot of members of the side of EKevin looking for girlfriend were on the top side of the map, and they very intelligently have moved in, and they're going to make a very nice play for this hard game. It feels like this is going to be a bit of a trade, because we do have the members on the top side of the map pushing in, trying to take down this first fort, trying to extend their experience lead. But now that they've seen that camp on the bottom side has been taken, and also they can see that the next tribute is going to be on the bottom side as well, they have to be very aware that they need to take that and then move elsewhere, because they now see that the members of NA LUL are starting to make a reactionary push on the bottom side of the map as well.
So two things about this night camp. One, would have been nice if it had been timed to not walk into a minion wave. Might have gotten some damage on the wall, but this is no longer Heroes of the Storm, where the walls have ammunition. These turrets and these forts, they will shoot at you forever. That change on its own has now made that night camp ineffective, because nobody was there to push with it. And now things leaning in favor of EKevin looking for girlfriend. They will group themselves up and be able to take away another tribute. They're actually going to get the pull back in on the Sirius. He's going to get rooted after he gets pulled, takes a bunch of damage. Now Danclan going to be brought down, switches into doggy form, but cannot get away. And they get the root onto Pumpkin Slayer. Don't follow up with the full team damage. Dan wasn't in position to do so, and Droplets had already moved back to deal with Bird Person. So they won't get that much value off that, but they do wingman away and bribe that camp. So this siege camp will get a little bit of value.
Yeah, they do manage to get a little bit of value grabbing that siege camp, and also because of that, one of the towers, but they did end up giving up 2 kills and also the second tribute. And now, with this next tribute coming up, NA LUL had to be very careful about how they play around these next few minutes, because if they lose out on some of the tempo of the game, they could very well give up this next tribute, and that would be a curse, and then the lead could just snowball in favor of EKevin. So yeah, I just have to be very careful with how they play this next minute. Very interesting that there are starting to stack quite a few members on the bottom side of the map, on the side of the blue team, just wanting to get some of that easy experience in some of those outer towers, realizing that a lot of the members of NA LUL will want to try and congregate towards the middle of the map to be in position for that next tribute.
Alright, good night camp take. Very good play by the side of NA LUL to just answer back to pretty much everything that EKevin does. Every time they look for an objective, they're a little bit behind it, which is why we see them down in experience a little bit, in my opinion, just from how the plays have gone. But they've done a very good job of responding to all of these moments and opportunities. Question is, can they get this quick cancel? Sirius is going to walk in there. Does knock them all back. There's going to be healing to him in the back, so there's a place to retreat to. A lot of damage onto Dan. Down comes the Soundbear. They actually got the isolation on the false start, so he should be... Oh, Gus, no! They come in from the side and manage to clip his wings. Now Arthas has been slowing down the majority of the enemy team. They will get the pullback onto Sirius. He gets hit with the tongue. Now Dan looking for the reset. He won't be able to get any skills past Zergling. Body block that out, but it is a clear advantage for EKevin. They should be able to clear out all of these minions now, and it will be a clear experience advantage for them.
Yeah, it was only just as that fight started that NA LUL did manage to pick up their heroics. It's actually going to be the stage dive coming out from the EPC, so didn't have the mosh pit in that fight to really turn that fight around, but great start, and just the amount of just upfront damage coming out of this lineup of EKevin, as they are getting knocked down a little bit, as the nice curse bullet does go in onto EKevin. He does manage to get out of there just a little bit, as the stage dive is actually going to come in trying to finish him off. It doesn't actually land it. He's going to be out. It doesn't actually get out of there. The little bit of the tip at the end of the power slide is going to manage to clean up that Cassia. So against the run of play, NA LUL do manage to pick up a kill, but they are still losing that experience all over the map because of this curse is still going.
Yep, gonna need to be careful about some of their camps being vulnerable. but a good answer back by the side of NA LUL. They're going to clear everything out, and now they're going to go for their boss. And what I meant by vulnerable, I meant the camps for the side of EKevin. It's possible that False State goes in and does some sneaky stuff, steals away another one, but they're going to start up with this boss, and nobody from the side of EKevin looking to answer that. They should realize very soon that there's nobody coming to respond to them, and this will be a quick boss take now that Falstead has no turn. Actually, Dahaka is there. They've sensed it. They know what's going on. Isolation goes in. Dahaka's on the point. That's going to be the gust away, so they'll secure the objective, but at what cost? Out comes the lightning ball. It's going to get some damage. Everybody's been rooted up. It's actually a great boss move. That may be the end of them. No, EKevin comes in. They finally start to rack up the damage. Bird person is on the back end. He's looking to finish somebody, but he gets knocked away, finished off circling. Now looking to find anything that he can, but he's out of mana. He will die a slow and painful death, and that is going to be a team wipe in favor of EKevin.
That was so dangerous for the side of EKevin. They all stacked up, and the amount of AoE damage coming out from the side of NA LUL was looking dangerous. That Malthael with the Tormented Souls is racking damage across all of the members of EKevin. It looked like it could have gone to the side of NA LUL, but the team fight was just so very good on the side of the blue team, and they managed to get it despite losing that boss. It was a nice gust to help secure it, but in the end it's pretty much all for naught. They end up losing the fight, and they're losing any experience. They're down in talent tiers, and now they're actually just trying to just run it back. They want to go for another boss fight. They're going straight for the bottom one.
A little bit of a desperation play. If they find somebody and pick them off, ooh, Dan, this pathing, sir, checks the boss. Smart man. Now he's gonna look to check the bush. All of them are there, or 4 of them are there. Malthael is on his way. Droplet sneaks in from the back, lands the tongue, gets that drag, slows down the playmaking potential. Malthael's still gonna continue to clear things. There's not a lot of great engage. They have to use pretty much everything they had and catch out the enemy team. The only deficiency that EKevin's team composition seems to have is their only real drawback is they can't really pull trigger on a play. But now they're looking for Zergling. He's going to take some initial damage. Shouldn't be too bad. They get a nice pop back, and a serious use of the stage dive. He's looking for something. Gets a slide onto one. Huge damage out that health percentage out of that bullet. He's going to bring down Arthas. Skills are used on both sides. Gust as well as a little bit of running away, and things will reset. But pretty much every ultimate used, every heroic of consequence has been fired off for Itobi. They still have the Ancestral. They've got the Curse Bullet coming back up. Torment of Souls is there. For the side of the NA LUL, but that's the initial drag on the Great Name. He's gone. Damage from the back. Den now starting to get the resets. Zergling is doing some, doing a little bit of work. He's at least surviving. But Falstead has now been rooted up. Bird person's been caught. Flips over the wall. Itobi will still get him. And it's going to be another team wipe. All 5 members from the side of EKevin surviving. Now they're going to look to push down mid and possibly end this game. Or no, they'll get a keep. It's too early for that. I was like, yeah, no, full team wipe. It was like, full team wipe, game's over. What am I talking about? Well, I got a little too excited. A little ahead of myself.
He's like, team wipe, let's go straight to the core. But yeah, they should be able to at least get close to taking down this keep. They're actually going to pull back because it's still reasonably early. The death timers aren't that long just yet, but
team wipe, go for core.
Exactly, just one more of those, and they could start looking for that kind of players. The Bird person just flying in to try and take down this Dahaka. Should be able to get out there. Does have the isolation, does a decent amount of damage to him, and is now forcing more resources out of the side of NA LUL. Nice burrow to avoid the power slide, but he has nothing left. But throughout all of this, the rest of the team is working on that bottom boss, and there's absolutely nothing that NA LUL can do to respond to this just yet.
Droplets, a noble sacrifice. Looks like they're going to wait and delay on this boss. They actually have the space to be able to do that. Nobody from the enemy team should be showing up anytime soon. They'll delay for a few seconds. They'll also be able to get the tribute for free. It looks like it's going to be a trade out for the side of NA LUL. They're going to take the top fort as well as pick up all of their remaining camps. Just trying to try and get some push going, see if they can find anything that will slow down, delay, put some pressure on the boss. But unfortunately, that bottom siege camp just got hit with the root, so that's actually fairly low. And now maybe this is where the side of EKevin go for their keep play. They're slowly moving members down to the bottom half of the map. Per person will bribe away the siege camp from the top and will TP back to be able to back up his team.
Yeah, it's still a healthy boss, and at this point they can still be very threatening, but there's no other minions around to help out with it, so it's just copying the full brunt of all those towers, all the minions and all the structures. So it's probably not going to be the keep going down, because the members of EKevin need to be just a little bit careful about stepping too far forward. There's still a lot of lockdown on the side of NA LUL. Essentially just with the one hero of the ETC, he has a lot of lockdown just in and of himself, but yeah, they do back away and just getting ready for this next tribute, which is going to be in a rather favorable position for NA LUL. It's on more of their side of the map, but it is one that they need to be taking, because another curse and we would start seeing keeps through.
Oh yeah, for sure. So clear, minions being cleared on the mid by Dan. Maybe they're gonna give this one. They don't necessarily need to take it. They don't need to risk the team fight. But nope, they are definitely going to risk the team fight. They finished the night camp in time. We've got the Hog Split pushing, but they're going to walk into a bush of death. EKevin takes a lot of damage there. Out comes the Sound Bear. Curse Bolt put a little bit of pressure on Arthas, but he's fine. There was an Ancestral on the Malthael. He's now looking to front line this series to use the stage dive. It didn't get much. Draplets is in the back line. He's putting so much pressure on the entire enemy team. He almost finished off third person. He gets the tongue back in. There's going to be the first reset, looking for Dan to finish off one more. There's the second reset. They should be able to find Zergling. He'll blink back, and now Pumpkin Slayer being finished off by Etobi on the side. Another tongue from Droplets secures them the kill. They're going to be able to take this tribute, and they will finish off Sirius. Like I said, one more team wipe, and it's game over.
Essentially, that's it. It was a great flank coming out of the Dahaka, just getting onto that back line and just really just sowing chaos. It looked like there was a potential for NA LUL to make that fight go really well in their favor, because they had the initial jump on the play, but they just weren't able to get the damage to land. They had a reasonable amount of up front, but with the Malthael, a lot of that is over time with that tremendous souls. And when you have the Lucio on the other side, that sound barrier deals with that pretty well, and they're able to get the fight yet again. The talent tier, the level advantage was a little bit too much to push through, and EKevin, looking for girlfriend, managed to get the win.
Alright, so they will be moving forward. They don't have an opponent yet. They'll be playing up against those guys versus Team Caliber, winner of that matchup. ODI beat Lego my Elo, so we've got a little bit of movement on the upper half of the bracket. We will check in with the admins, see if they can get an ETA on where that game is, and when we'll be able to get into the next one. But good play coming out of EKevin's team. They'll move on, and I think we've clearly seen that teams have got a reasonably good sense of this patch. We haven't seen too many of the characters with massive changes come through yet. I don't think anybody but the Lucio and Stukov.
Yeah, well, the Lucio, yes, he did take a bit of a nerf, but a lot of his power is in his utility with the speed boost, and we saw that a lot in that game. Where you mentioned throughout during that game that lineup didn't necessarily have that ability to pull the trigger, and that's one of the things that Arthas kind of struggles with, is that, well, once he gets into these fights, he can really be a considerable threat, but it's just getting there in the first place. He's just not really able to do such a thing. But with the Lucio, he's able to get speed boost right into the thick of it and really make the opponent's lives a living hell. And that's one thing that, even though Lucio did cop a nerf to some of his healing numbers with the amp it up, he is still so very strong with the utility that he has with his speed boost.
All right, so we are checking with admins to see where that game is at, and let's see what were we talking about before we were so rudely interrupted by that game.
Was it?
Can't remember.
Elo systems, MMR, and ranked systems for. I believe it was something to do with the rank systems and how they kind of get a bit messy when you put teams into it, multiple people.
Oh yeah. More on ranked systems.
Yeah.
More on the beauty and the complexity of how ranked systems truly build together. It's a mild struggle to be the one who has to has to deal with that. Oh no, we were talking about voice comms. What that's gonna bring.
that was right at the very end. Yes.
I had to think about it. I had to go through the conversation one more time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So voice comms. Yeah, I think voice comms are fine. I know there's a lot of people who've expressed serious concerns over it, but it exists in a lot of other games. It's was in Overwatch from the start.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely makes playing ranked there. It makes a serious game more serious. So, like, a serious positive game in ranked there is, everybody's definitely more on board. You can tell when people are frustrated. You can actually kind of help influence your teammates in a positive manner.
Yeah.
On the other side, it makes it really builds the extremes. Like, good games are better, and bad games are horrific.
Oh
And,
yeah.
and the trolls are just worse. Like the troll when a troll can talk to you directly, it's just worse. So as with any good comes plenty of bad.
And I think there's a lot of the concern about voice chat in Heroes of the Storm. I mean, MOBA communities have this stigma about them, and it's like they're all fighting to be the most toxic, I guess. And there are concerns that allowing players to directly talk to one another who they're not necessarily on each other's friends list just because they're on the same team, just randomly matched together, things could get a little bit more toxic than what people are probably willing to deal with. And that is a concern that rightfully should be addressed. But I feel as though in the overall grand scheme of things, it is going to, on average, increase the communication and the teamwork throughout all the different ranks. Because sure, we can look at some of the people that we end up seeing reasonably frequently in Hero League and say, well, if we were talking, it would just end up being just throwing shit at each other throughout the entire game. But there's a whole list, there's a whole ladder of a lot of different types of people, a lot of different personalities, and sometimes it's going to work out, sometimes it's not. That's just the nature of just online gaming in general, really. So voice chat is just another way to try and facilitate good team play. So I'm very much looking forward to it. Yes, there are going to be probably a few growing pains, but overall, I think it's going to be a benefit to the game in the long run.
Yeah, I know there are a lot of arguments saying that voice comms is bad because it forces people to have to use it, because if you don't use it, you look toxic or uncooperative, you're at a disadvantage, and there's a bunch of people who aren't going to either want to use it or going to feel that it's not
pressure to use it.
There's people who are going to feel pressure to use it because they feel it's not safe to use, because they don't want to have to either deal with people or be discriminated against. And this is a very harsh statement, and I'll probably get a little hate for this, but at the end of the day, those people were going to discriminate against you if they found out anyway. Yes, you can say that the voice comms kind of forced you to have to deal with it, but it's the evolving nature. It's the evolving nature of any competitive game to try and increase the communication between the players,
especially in team games.
Yeah,
it's especially
it's a necessity. It's a necessary evil to kind of advancing things, and it is more than a rightful complaint to not want to use it and to feel pressured into using it. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I would say there are more people who are not assholes than there are people who are.
Yeah.
At least within this community, or there are more people who are looking to play the game and win than there are people looking to ruin your day.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to fight me about that, I'll do that. I'll do that one in private.
Yeah. And especially like a game like Heroes of the Storm, compared to other MOBAs and other like games, just like competitive team games, Heroes of the Storm, it requires so much communication that you just can't, like, yes, you can talk to like your team via chat, but that is time that you are not actually playing the game. Spending that time to just type out, hey, we need to be setting up for this play, that's time that could be used actually playing and doing the setup. It's just cutting out that little bit of a middleman, and it's just like just streamlining a lot of that that necessary communication, which is I think really necessary, especially for Heroes of the Storm.
Yeah, I also think as a community, Heroes in general isn't like people aren't playing Heroes. People are playing Heroes because they like Blizzard games, they like Blizzard characters, and they like this version of the MOBA experience. Like I feel like that's why more people play Heroes of the Storm than I'm playing this because it's a MOBA and it's super competitive. And it can be super competitive, but like that's not usually what draws you to Heroes of the Storm. You're
That's
here
not the
because you
overall
like
experience.
Yeah, you're here because you like what this game brings to the table, not because you're trying to be the best that ever was. That may be a factor, but I don't think that's the overall. So I think people will survive voice comms coming in. And if someone's a jerk, you can just always mute them.
That's the thing.
And they were going to be a jerk whether you muted them or not.
Exactly.
Like you can't change them, community. They suck to begin with.
Exactly. It's just using the tools to
use it to the best of your ability. Make the best of it that you can. All right. So I'm being told that I've got some information. Let's see. So this is going to be EKevin looking for a girlfriend versus those guys in our first semifinal. I don't think we'll get to the second semifinal. I think we'll just go straight into the final, assuming both teams are ready. Because I think both semifinals are getting ready to play. And it looks like those guys have banned Cursed Hollow, so we will not be seeing that map.
Interesting. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if we see another Warhead Junction ban, because apparently no one likes that map.
It's a little annoying. It's never been liked.
Well, I watch a decent amount of China, and they like it there.
Well,
I like watching it. It is
that's because Asia. That's because Asia's great at innovating.
China. They just go off.
They just try everything.
They give it. And EKevin bans Warhead, and we're going. Yeah. Those guys pick a Battlefield of Eternity. So back.
Back to regional metas develop differently. NA's always loved BOE. Asia's always been willing to. China specifically is always willing to try new things.
China specifically loves Warhead. But yeah,
there are plenty of options. There are plenty of options, and metas. The way regional metas develop is always very interesting because it depends on who you play. Most recently, who you lost to, on the international stage. How then you bring that back, and then there's just the random number generator that is the number of teams and the number of players playing Hero League or any other given match.
That's what I'm actually going to really like coming into next year, is just seeing how the different things develop. And then I love it when we move from just regional play into international and just see how all these different styles just clash.
Yeah, it's gonna be a very interesting year because now we've kind of had that full year. And we can get into more of it later, but the changes to roster rules and the changing of team ownership of the spots, giving more flexibility to teams to not only develop new talent, but move in new talent, how that's then going to affect the open series and what that does to teams. Because if, there's teams were pulling players for subs over the course of the year, but they weren't pulling players midway through the season to make a mid-season roster change and add a player. That has now become a reality with the changes to roster rules. So there's a lot that can go on this year and how teams are going to develop. And I believe that there are only 2 teams that don't have head coaches. I think it's